This video is sponsored by Silverstone. The innovative Ice Mist all-in-one cooler allows you to stack RGB fans on the water block, which can easily direct airflow to any hotspots on the motherboard, VRMs, or DRAM. Pick up the Ice Mist AIO today and equip your PC with this unique high-performance cooler.
Hey PC World fans, Adam here at CES 2024, once again with the most important person I've run into here at the show.
I'm like at least the third or fourth. Like you gotta.
Don't sell yourself short,
You're setting
Paul.
me up
Do
for.
not sell yourself short.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody, when they see Paul, they're like, oh, it's Paul. Like literally everybody here. Anyway, we're gonna.
That's why the keynotes were delayed. They had to wait for me.
Oh, dang. It is all Paul's fault. But this show, I feel like the central theme that we've kind of seen out of it is obviously AI. Literally everywhere. Almost every single meeting is like plastered with AI. And sometimes it's even like, wait, you had that feature already, now you're just rebranding it to AI. So like, I guess, what are your feelings on AI right now? It is early days.
Oh, that's a broad question.
Yeah,
So,
like just, put words out there, that you're feeling inside about AI when I say that.
Okay, I'll try to do it three ways.
Okay.
First is AI as you can't just say AI because there's like hardware, there's machine learning, there's software, there's the training process and the data that's used there.
Inference.
There's what it comes out. What is the AI actually doing, functionally speaking? So, on a hardware level, since we're a hardware channel, we talk about that. I don't think it is inherently bad or anything like that. I think it has a lot of promise. I think there's a lot of good things that can be done with AI, and just like lots of technical advances in the past, which are often met with skepticism or fear, or people being hesitant to dive in, or people being worried about how it might be used, I don't think it's the fault of the AI hardware that's being developed. I think it's just, unfortunately, one of those things of human nature. You're putting this out there, you're making the hardware available. There are going to be people who try to leverage and take advantage of AI in a way that we might consider to be unethical or just bad, if you want to use a simple term.
Human's gonna human.
Humans are gonna human. So that's where I think a lot of people are worried about, is what's gonna happen with AI. So that's kind of my high level stance on it. I think there is absolutely some positives, but absolutely some really kind of scary negatives.
Yeah, we got to be careful.
Yeah, for sure.
But on the other end, hardware vendors are like, oh yeah, you want to buy this AI. Intel's literally like, we want millions of AI PCs. AMD's like, hey, we now have a third pillar of computing. We have the CPU, we have the GPU, now we have the NPU, kind of thing, and they're taking it serious. Also, side funny note. NVIDIA's like, wait, what are you talking about? We've had AI since the 20 series, but AI PCs have been here if you've been on
old
NVIDIA.
News. Old news for NVIDIA.
Old hat. We've been doing that. Been there, done that.
Oh, because NVIDIA, I mean, they are absolutely a market leader in terms of AI hardware.
All jokes aside.
The H100s, the H200s, all those.
And DLSS,
DLSS.
like that kind of stuff, is definitely AI, a version of AI.
And for PC gamers, that's probably the best thing to point out, to say, here is how that hardware, after NVIDIA started to integrate it into their GPUs, has been used to provide a benefit to people. If you've used DLSS, there's a lot of really cool, useful features there. We analyze them and critique them and everything, but I'd much rather DLSS exists than not exist, in almost all of its forms, except for the first one. We don't talk about that anymore. But the AI thing at the show that has just gotten a little tired, I think it's just that, like you said, it seems like it's everywhere. It's absolutely the buzzword, which means that every single company, you can tell, had someone probably at the higher up level, maybe an executive who's like, we got to have AI.
Yeah. Hey, they're in a meeting. They got the project manager did the PowerPoint. The person's down there. Hey, so what's our AI strategy? And they're like, what is our AI strategy?
It's like, I keep hearing about this ChatGPT thing. We need to have that too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Did you see the rabbit? Did you see that at all? Okay. I only know the highest level thing about it's a little handheld device that is AI, basically. It's like a companion.
Oh, okay.
And apparently they've instantly sold
a companion cube from Portal.
Yeah, and they've sold 10,000 units out of the gate or something like that. It got really, really hyped up in the first day or two of the show.
Well, what does it do?
That's what I'm baffled about. I'm like, it's supposed to communicate to your phone, so you don't have to use your phone anymore. You can use this thing instead, but like, why would you do that instead of using your phone? I'm sure there are more practical uses for it, and there's maybe some reason why there's 10,000 units sold, but that's just an example of how the hype build around something, which is what all the companies are trying to create, does work sometimes. And again, I don't want to cast judgment on the Rabbit one way or another. Again, I've only got a few headlines read about that, but it is impressive. They said they were supposed to sell 500 or 1,000 units expecting, and they went way, way beyond that. So,
well, I think that's also part of our job too when we're here, is to like, go, you know, be like, okay, we got what you said, but now we gotta, you know, look at the information and be like, all right, here's actually what's practical. You know, but I still feel like even then it's hard to be like, what is practical? You know, like, because even if we have the hardware right now, like I don't think there's anything, I mean, unless you're really into the machine learning or like training local AI models, or, you know, Stable Diffusion. We do have people on our Discord that are way into Stable Diffusion, I totally get it. But for the average person right now, I don't think it's like, oh, you gotta buy this because of this. Not yet, not yet. It's like still early days, and I'm glad it's there. And yes, chicken before egg, I think that's what everyone keeps saying, is like, well, you gotta have gotta have hardware there. And it's like, okay, cool. But also at the same time, like, I don't think I can easily recommend somebody to be like, oh, okay, well, you're going to want this right now.
Yeah, and like the oversaturation, I think, is definitely what has been making me like look. You know, you see AI and you're just like, oh, whatever. Like you get kind of over it at a certain point. And what I've asked the companies who I have talked to, who have had like, here's our AI stuff or whatever, is like, well, what is it doing? Is there something functional? Can you show me? Here's the input, here's the data that it's been trained on, here's what the AI has been trained to do. And there are some examples of that. Maybe one of the most notorious from the show is MSI's AI Monitor, which has an AI chip built into it, which they trained on League of Legends so that it can look at the minimap and other various cues in the game to pop up extra images on the screen to cue off the player that there's enemies coming from a certain direction, something like that. Supplemental to the game, completely detached from the game engine. So as far as detecting something like that, if it's you guys decide whether it's a cheat or not.
What crosshairs on monitors, right?
It's kind of like that crosshair thing. But you know, how are game devs going to be able to detect something like that? So that is both one, at least an actual, they're showing us what it's doing. But
well,
also
and it seems like it'd only be done with the AI processing, right? Like this isn't just a crosshair on the screen. And
I mean, it's much more intelligent than like an actual crosshair. It also monitors your life bar, and it has a bar at the bottom that can go down. And it's like, why would you look at that bar there rather than your life bar on screen? Anyway, it at least was a use case for the AI, but of course immediately opened up this like somewhat of a Pandora's box of like, well, is that okay? Is, you know, how many games are they gonna support for something like this? How is it going to behave in different games, different game types and everything? So, other companies, like lots of the laptop manufacturers, or just any company who already has a product with an NVIDIA GPU, now it's AI. Our whole set of laptops that before were just gaming laptops, now they're AI laptops. So that kind of thing, I think it's a little bit more tiresome.
And that's just branding,
That's
right?
just branding.
That's just branding.
But
well, I got to ask, now I'm thinking about this, is there anything that you use in your daily life right now that's AI based that you're like, oh, you know what, actually I love doing this?
Absolutely, Stable Diffusion.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I have actually gotten reasonably well skilled with Stable Diffusion because I've been using it for thumbnails in my videos.
Really?
Because a lot of times.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, if you look at some of my mid-year thumbnails, you can tell pretty easily that there's some AI generated stuff in there. But a lot of times, you know, you make a video, you work hard on it, you're very proud of how it turned out and everything, but you got to have a thumbnail that people will click on.
You got it, yeah.
And it's really hard to figure out exactly what that should be. So sometimes I might come up with a good title, but then I need to think of some image that sort of embodies that in a high concept sort of way. So with AI, like when NVIDIA was, what was it? Oh, there was another sort of a scalper scare recently towards the end of last year, and I was like, how do I embody that in some way? So I used a few different AI images that I stitched together, which was like a guy pushing a cart through a warehouse, and then I put a stack of NVIDIA graphics cards there, and then I made a sign at the top that said scalper storage that way.
Yes, I do remember.
You know, so Stable Diffusion, as well as the other, I'm not as familiar with some of the other implementations that are out there. Really cool, very powerful. The fact that you can just download a few very small pieces of software and run it on your local GPU and not have to pay for one of the services that are out there that are probably doing the exact same thing. They just have an API and a web interface to let you do it.
Yeah.
Really cool. And very scalable and flexible in terms of image generation, scaling them up, modifying stuff. Like, it's really powerful, very cool. Again, a Pandora's box of ethical implications if you are using existing copyright material or the images from a photographer or an artist or something like that.
Yes.
Like,
It's.
I have no. Do you know the answer?
I don't think anyone has quite the answer. Yeah, maybe somebody in the chat knows. They can tell us. But
the feeling I keep having, it's like I can try to present this and say like, there's two sides to this. I'm not going to tell you where to slice it. Because I don't know myself. But,
Well, I think everyone falls differently, depending. It also depends on what you do. But
it's true.
There
are lawsuits coming out now. People and artists and creators who have been publishing.
And it's serious. It is serious.
Who've been publishing stuff on the internet for years, and suddenly, over the past few years, as they've been training AI models, they've just been scraping that stuff up. And again, it's not like they're taking your work and completely, like, identically putting it somewhere else for the purposes of making money, but they are still using the work of a lot of artists and independent creators. And there's a big question, like, how do you compensate them in some fair way? How do you stop that from happening, even if you have a bunch of people on one side of it who are like, well, we want to do this ethically and do it right? You're still going to have other people who still have access to the hardware who are going to not care about the ethics of the situation. It's definitely an expanding quagmire, and I really have no idea how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
The future is so
nebulous. If only we could ask AI what the future is going to hold. Another personal question, though. How much weight do you put on local versus cloud? Right? There's privacy, and totally. I've had plenty of people be like, oh no, actually, I want stuff local, and so they're really excited about local hardware. But like you said, Stable Diffusion can also be run in the cloud. You don't have to have all this hardware. Where do you?
I almost always fall on the local side of things because I don't know. I'm gonna step back and talk about the internet. Like the internet, I love the internet.
It's over there. The internet.
We got. They have a booth over there. The internet, I've grown up with the internet, and I've seen it change over time. And I feel like the internet used to be a thing that you could go out and say, I want to follow this and this and this, and you could sort of create your own feed of information.
Yeah.
And over the past, 5+ years, I feel like things have really veered towards, instead of you choosing what you want to see, you've got like the TikTok model or the Shorts model, or things where an algorithm is feeding you what to see next.
And it's scary good sometimes.
And and that's like, how manipulative can that be to keep your eyes focused on a screen? So.
And manipulative doesn't have to be a negative term, for sure. They are actively doing that, manipulating how we watch and patterns and that kind of stuff. It can be used for negative, but yeah.
So, how does that relate to local versus cloud? So, I don't know why that reminded me of that, but the cloud-based stuff, it's like you have less control over, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I like stuff that you can run locally at home. You know what you're using. You know the software. Hopefully, it was developed by a really nice guy who posts stuff on GitHub or one of those places where you can get it, and you got other people who are like, oh yeah, this is awesome, and they're not building it for a company or for their own personal gain. They're building it because they want to make something useful that people can use. So yeah, surveillance software, AI generation stuff. If you have the option to run that stuff locally, yeah, I'd much rather do that, because information is power. Data, it can be used to make money, and a lot of the free stuff that you have access to online
isn't truly free.
If it's free, then you're the product, and your data is being harvested or scooped up in some way to better inform, probably a very large company, how to more actively keep you watching stuff so they can feed you ads and stuff like that. So. That's why I like local.
Well, and also, at the end of the day, we are hardware people. Mm-hmm. We do like hardware. We get nice hardware. We like to stress it. But speaking of which, though, I personally haven't dug into Stable Diffusion too much. Maybe you on your channel can do a tutorial. Hey, you got this awesome hardware. Here's how you dig into Stable Diffusion.
I've been thinking of that. Good, awesome hardware plug, by the way. I've been thinking about that. And I don't like to do tutorials on things that I'm not like at least fairly well versed in, but I feel like I'm kind of getting to that point. So,
or maybe even not a tutorial, but just like, hey, here's how you make thumbnails. You know, like
I don't even know if we can say this yet, but NVIDIA has some new graphics cards. NVIDIA has new graphics cards coming out. They are also for reviewers saying, look, here's how it performs specifically in Stable Diffusion.
Oh, okay. Interesting, yeah.
Because there's a web UI, Automatic 1111 that you can use now that makes it way simpler.
Oh, really?
So it's pretty easy to set up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, exciting. AI can be exciting, but also scary. It's okay. It can be both at the same time.
It's like the dragon that they set up downstairs. Like you look at it from the front and like, oh, it's very intimidating.
Oh no, I didn't see it.
Then you walk around to the back and you realize it has 4 buttholes, and you're like, oh, it's not as scary.
Wait, okay, I'm missing out on this dragon.
It's kind of a random thing.
Yeah.
It's the one they set up for Lunar New Year.
Okay.
Over by the Palazzo.
Okay, well, I'll go look for some buttholes right after this. We need to wrap it up. Thank you so much.
On that note.
Yeah, on that note, I gotta go. Paul's Hardware, I'm sure you're subscribed, but go over, unsubscribe, and subscribe again.
Yeah,
I don't know if that...
Trick the algorithm, I
guess.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if that does anything. Yeah, but try it. Maybe if we all try it, we'll get Paul boosted. And go buy merch.
Oh yeah, merch.
Awesome, award-winning merch for sure.
Only the best awards. Too.
Only the best awards. So thank you for Paul for chatting with me. I really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will catch you in the next CES video.
Bye guys.